Well, welcome back. I hope you had some good talk about Philemon and Onesimus. Um, it makes us think about uh, the immigrants and the migrants and refugees and unreached people groups who are right around us in our area. Dynamics of migration. Just take a quick look at this. And what brings people to the cities? There are two factors. We call them push factors and we call them pull factors. Some things push people to the city. Some things pull people to the city. So, for instance, war, monsoon failure, cyclones, earthquakes, they push people towards the cities. Whereas education, employment, entertainment, hospitals, housing, and etc., they pull people to the city. So some people are pushed into the cities and some people are pulled into the cities. So when you couple the push and pull factors with people living longer, uh, children, babies not dying so much at birth because of greater health standards that are going on. Cities are doubling in their size very, very quickly. So we're finding that the cities are where the people are moving to. East has moved west, south has moved north. Um, People are moving all over. If you take it to a place like London, Ray Bakke tells us that 54, London once ruled 54 nations of the world. All those 54 nations are now inside of London. Ray Bakke calls it the Empire Strikes Back syndrome. Um, Germany built a railroad down to Turkey. Now Germany has lots of Turkish. Holland once ruled as far as Indonesia. Now Indonesians are inside of Holland. So you find the connections. Paris has ruled over portions of Africa. Now Paris is becoming more and more an African city. People are moving to the cities, and there's a connection that goes on between all these places. And so it's important for us to understand that as church planters, we oftentimes it's important to move into the 1040 window, but it's also important to understand that the 1040 window has gotten a pair of wheels and it's moved into our backyards. And so the world is now inside of cities. This is an old slide, an old statistic. It's probably higher, but 44 people per hour come to Mumbai, 12 to Istanbul, and 11 to Sao Paulo every single hour. You're looking at a picture of one of my favorite cities in the world, the city of Calcutta, West Bengal, India. So the cities are becoming the place where the world is moving to. Um, and that's so important for us to understand as church planters. Ray Bakke says, once the cities used to be in the nations, but now the nations are inside of our cities. And so that's very important. I think probably most of you know this, so I'll be quick on this, but what is an unreached people group? An unreached people group is a people group among which there is no indigenous community of believing Christians with adequate numbers and resources to evangelize that people group. An unreached people group has less than 2% evangelicals, less than 5% Christian adherents, whether that's talking about mainline or Orthodox or Roman Catholic. When I put this slide together some time back, 16,306 people groups in the world today. 6,650 of them are unreached according to the Joshua Project. You can look that up on the Joshua Project and see how many is current today. In Africa alone, there are 291 million unreached people groups, or unreached peoples, I should say, and 29 or 30 million in Europe alone. 30 million people in Europe alone. So Europe has become a ripe harvest field for reaching unreached people groups. Now, I'm going to show you some pie charts really quick. You've seen these already a little bit in my presentations, but here's the San Francisco Bay Area. And I call it strategic peoples and languages of the SF Bay Area. Not unreached, but strategic, because I'm showing you here not all the people groups of SF Bay Area, but what I call strategic peoples. That would be the unreached peoples, less than 3%, and the non-white ethnic groups that have large percentages of Christians amongst them that need to be mobilized to the unreached people groups who are in their backyard, like the Mexicans or the Filipinos or the Koreans, which have much more than 3% evangelicals amongst them. But here you are looking at my city, the San Francisco Bay Area, and look at the huge amount of unreached people groups that I've tried to mash into this pie chart so that I could show you. If you look onto the right side of the screen, as you're looking at it, about in the middle, you see a group there called the Gujaratis. 34,311 Gujaratis in the San Francisco Bay Area. Gujaratis come from north of Bombay, from the state called Gujarat. Missiology, or church planting saturation, teaches us there should be one church for every 1,000 people. Therefore, 34,000 Gujaratis, we should have 34 Gujarati speaking churches to reach these Gujarati people. I remember I asked a mission leader one time in the San Francisco Bay Area who was from Gujarat, and I asked him, I said, Vip, his name was Vip Patel. I said, Vip, how many Gujarati churches do we have in the San Francisco Bay Area? He said, Tim, I don't know of one single Gujarati church in the entire United States of America. Now, that was in 2007, and today, 2020, there are Gujarati churches across America, a few of them, and there's even one fellowship here in the San Francisco Bay Area. But we have a long ways to go. There's 250,000 Muslims in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I only know of about 15 full-time Christian workers reaching out to them. So same, I could take you to New York City, and it gets even more complicated. New York City has some 4 million unreached peoples, less than 3% from unreached people groups that are living inside the borders of New York City. Or I could take you into Europe, to many, many cities. Here you're looking at Barcelona, and you see it gets so complicated that some of it's even unreadable because there's so many unreached people groups sitting in the city of Barcelona. So this is why cities are strategic. Nations, cities used to be in nations. Today, the nations are in the cities. The 1040 window is not just a geographical fixed place, but the 1040 window got a pair of wheels from about 1960 to current, and it's moving all over the world and coming into our cities. And this is why we should be planting churches and reaching the people. So I'd like you to take some time and discuss this and talk about what does it mean to reach the cities? What does it mean to be church planting? How can you be a church planter? How can you be a church planter in a city, love the city, but reach out to the church, reach out to the unreached people groups, and take some time and talk about that, and talk about who's doing some good jobs in the cities that you know in your area. And then we'll come back and talk some more.